In this video, we're gonna talk about resource management in Structure, but we're gonna cover a very specific use case where, for example, you need to manage and plan what kind of hardware you will use in your project, you will have to use in your project, or what kind of other elements you need to plan to be available for your project, not only who has to perform certain tasks. This video is part of our efforts to provide best possible training around Jira, Confluence and whole Atlassian ecosystem. If you would like to support us, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave the comment underneath if you have any further questions, and remember that you can always reach out to us for one of our paid services like trainings, consultations or implementations. Alright, let's jump into Structure now. So one of the features of Structure is resource management. So actually this is part of a Structure.Gantt to be precise. So if we click over here, you can see that I have resources which are at the moment individual users, and based on the tasks, based on estimates, we see whether someone is over allocated or under allocated. Maybe we can assign more work to them. So at the moment I am pretty much over allocated in the upcoming 2 weeks. And this is how this feature is usually used, right? So we are assigning tasks to the people. People have certain capacity, and based on estimates, we are able to define whether someone is over allocated or not. So this is pretty much straightforward. But this case works only for individual persons, right? What if we are not doing the planning for individuals? Well, in that case, we need to go into settings of our structure. And over here in the resource section, we have attribute that is used as identifier for our resource. So at the moment I have assignee. This means that Structure will look at the assignee field to generate a list of the resources over here. Now I can actually pick several other fields here. So I can change what kind of attribute will be used to generate me a list of resources. But what to choose if not assignee? Where usually we may have configured on our instance custom fields that will be, for example, a drop-down list that will contain lists of all the teams that we have, right? So I have something like this. This is called executor team. I will save it, and of course we can modify units to change how much capacity these teams have. But the idea is that now, based on the field, on the specific field in the issue, I will quickly find one of these. Yeah, you can see that basically this issue is assigned to team backend, right? So I can open the issue and you'll see that this is basically a simple drop down that allows me to change the teams. So these are the standard approaches. We're either using the assignee or field that represents the team. Okay, but how else could we use the feature that allows us to define the list of resources based on the values in the custom field? Imagine that kind of situation. You have a team that is delivering feature in an app, and the app will be working on tablets. It will be iPads, it will be Android tablets, so there is multiple supported devices. And in your company, set of the devices that are available for the tests is shared across multiple teams, right? So when you know the feature will be ready, you need to basically book the device so that you are not getting blocked by the fact that the device is used at the moment by the other team. So you can already, I think, come up with possible solution, possible use for that. We can create a custom field that will have a list of all the devices that we can book. I actually have that kind of field already. It is called used hardware. And when we assign the hardware to the tasks. So let's say, for example, over here, we have a tasks that are assigned to iPad Pro, iPad Air, again, iPad Pro. And over here, we have a list of the devices and we can see when they are used and to what degree. So over here, we see that Galaxy Tab S is used on 2 days, just 4 hours per day. So we are clear there actually someone else could use those devices for the rest of the time on that days too. But over here for iPad Pro, we are over allocated. So possibly we will have to move our tests or maybe ensure additional device, right? And thanks to that, we see where there are bottlenecks when it comes to hardware that we need to use. Okay, but now what if we have multiple devices of the same type? So I will enter a ticket for a moment. And there are basically two solutions. We could either have separate entries for each of the devices on the same time over here. So for example, iPad Pro 1, iPad Pro 2, or iPad Pro 3. And then each of these will be seen here as separate entry. But there is also a second way to approach that. So basically we can enter over here into configuration of this resource and say that I have 2 units of iPad Pro. And now you will see that this 16 hours that was red is now gray again. We are not over allocating this resource because for this single day we can use 2 iPads at the same time, which in reality will be 16 hours of using of the device. One thing to keep in mind is that these numbers are taken from task estimates, right? So if you have a task that represents a feature, like over here I have stories, and it represents whole life cycle. So it represents both development and testing, and everything is estimated for 3 days. We won't require or we won't need this device for whole 3 days. We will only need it for last day when we will be doing the tests, right? So in that kind of case, it's better to have separate task or maybe a subtask for the test that will have its own estimate. So basically we will have a story that is a development story and maybe 2 subtasks, one for developer, one for testers, and the developer subtask will be estimated for 2 days. The tester task or subtask for 1 day, and then we'll be doing the hardware assignment only for this tester subtask. So we will have a clear picture how much time we're spending using these devices. So you can see that the way this feature is designed gives us a lot of flexibility. And this is something I think that is unique for the structure, because other add-ons that allow you to plan resources are focusing on individual users and teams. Here we can have that too, but on top of that, we can have other custom fields that define other types of resources. And by switching between them in configuration, we can decide what we want to plan at the moment. So this is something that was used by us very successfully in for one of our customers in automotive industry, where they were producing buses and actually only single team at a certain stage of production could work on the bus. And we were basically booking buses so that team could enter, do their stuff, leave, and then another team took over. So it required a bit of imagination to come up with that kind of planning. But it turned out to be very useful and they were really happy with that. Okay, so that will be it for this video. Hope you liked it. Hope it will be useful for you. Remember, you can always contact us, especially if you have some problems, you do not know how to approach something, how to address one of your requirements in Structure, Jira, or any other add-on. I'm sure we will be able to propose you some solutions and figure this one out. So thanks for today, and hear you in the next one.